Okay, so 9.2, we're going to continue with the calculators. I'm going to actually expand on the calculators to help you do some things, but we're also going to introduce some different terminology here. So we're going to look at what a distribution is and how a distribution can be skewed. We'll talk about that. And also this term right down here, outlier. This definition is real important, how you determine an outlier. An outlier is something that's way less than or way more than most of the values in a given set or given list. And how you exactly compute that depends on your quartiles and what Q1 and Q3 are. Remember, Q2 is your median right in the middle. So a lot of terminology we're going to review from yesterday, show you again how to do the calculator a little bit more in depth with this and how to utilize it to find a lot of stuff and also how to view some certain things. So it gives you, in this example, some places to go to determine some of this, and I'm going to walk you through in an example. But one of the things I want to talk about is what a view would look like. Okay, so this one's pretty centered. This would be something that we might consider an outlier, which it is, based on the calculation. And how do you get those values? And again, I'm going to walk you through on the calculator to do that. So we're going to take this particular problem, number 3, and it says create a dot plot using an appropriate scale for the number line. Determine whether the extreme value is an outlier. So what we're going to do is we're going to take those values and we're going to do just like we did yesterday, and I'm going to guide you through. First thing I'm going to do is make some room here where I can write. So again, let's write over the top of this a little bit. And again, one of the things you can do is reference in the book some of this stuff on how to do it on the calculator, but I'm going to try to walk you through again here to kind of help you a little bit. So the first thing we want to do is we want to put our list in our calculator. So what we're going to go to first is we're going to press Stat, and then we're going to hit Edit, and we're going to do L1, and we're going to type our list in. So 72, 84, 89, 81, 93, 100, 90, 88, 80, 84, 87. Okay. So again, here are the steps for that. So you press the Stat button. Oops, sorry. Need to be able to write here. Move this back up a little bit. Just like this. All right. So we're going to press Stat button. First one that comes up is Edit. And then we are going to press Enter. And then we're going to enter those values, okay? And then the next thing that we want to do is we want to put those in order again. So the way we do that is after we've got those in, we're going to go to second Stat button again, right arrow over to OPS, Operations, and we want to select number 1, Sort Ascending. So we're going to press Enter, and then we have to go to our list, or our list. So we do second again, Stat button again, and then we want number 1, L1. We're going to press Enter. And then what that is going to do is that's going to put L1 right here. And then press Enter again. And then it's going to say Done. And that means it's put it in order in there. Okay. Now, what we did before on the calculator is we used some individual calculation things, but we're going to do something a little different this time. What I want us to do this time is I want us to press the Stat button. And we're going to go right arrow over to Calculate, Calc. And we're going to select number 1, variable stats. And we're going to press Enter. Now when it does that, it's going to bring up this menu that says List, Frequency List, and Calculate. We're going to scroll down to Calculate and highlight it. And then we are going to press Enter. And when it does that, it brings up all this list of like weird looking symbols and stuff. So there's a couple of these symbols I want to make sure that we recognize. The first one is the very first one on there, this one right here, okay? That one stands for mean, okay? That one's mean. That's how you get the average of all of these. So again, it's not something you can do by hand or you can do individually on the calculator, but it's also given to you right there. Another one on here is this little symbol right here. And this is, standard deviation. That's your standard deviation symbol. Okay, now in that list also is going to be another one. It says n equals 11. In this particular case, what that is the number of items in your list. That's the number of items in your list. Now, if you scroll down, it's going to give you some other values here, okay? I'm going to have to move up here. It's going to give you min x. Okay, that's the minimum value in this. Then it gives you Q1. That's your lower quartile or quartile 1, and it'll give you some value. It gives you MED, which is median. It gives you Q3, that's your third quartile, that's your upper quartile, and that's what you need to do, figure out if your value is an outlier or not. And then it's going to give you max X. Okay, so one of the things you do here, if you take the max X for this one, and I'm going to go ahead and write in the minimum for this particular one, which is 72. Those are your two lower values. Remember, if you subtract those, that gives you your range, which in this case would be 28. Remember how to get your interquartile range. I'm going to go and write these values in as well. This was 81, and this one was 90. So the interquartile range would be the difference in those two. 90 minus 81 is 9. Okay, and for this particular problem, your median is 87. So those are the values here. Now, what do? We're trying to figure out if 100, okay, in this list is an outlier. If we go back to the directions up here, it says create a dot plot using appropriate scale, determine whether the extreme value is an outlier. Okay, so we've got 100 and we've got 72. Okay, so how do you do that? Again, one of the things I'm going to do, I'm going to make some room here so I can write a little bit. So I'm going to shrink all this up again. And I'm just going to go through the process of determining whether or not it's an outlier based on my information. Okay, so if you go back to the definition of what an outlier is, and I'm just going to write this down as we work through it here. So definition, or how to find an outlier, is by the following. So again, two definitions. So we'll start with the first one. Sorry, it makes it small again. If x is less than Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. Okay, so we know what Q1 is here. Q1 is 81. So I'm going to put 81 minus 1.5 times the IQR. Now remember, the IQR was the difference in these two. So my 3 kind of got small right there. 90 minus 81 is 9. That's my IQR. And the value I'm looking at for this particular one is 72. That's the small value. So if I just type that in, so I type 81 minus 1.5 parenthesis 9 close parenthesis, I get 67.5. That is not true. Sorry, my phone just dinged. That is not true. So 72 is not an outlier. But then I have to do the other side. So I do x is greater than. Now I do Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. So now what was the biggest one? 100. Q3 here was 90 plus 1.5 times 9. So again, just go on your calculator, 90 plus 1.5 times parenthesis 9, and I get 103.5. That is not true. So 100, again, is not an outlier because it's not bigger. So these other year term problems in this are pretty much just built on this. I'm on the next page. So for these particular problems, if you look, it wants the mean, median, the interquartile range, standard deviation. You can get all of those. Again, what you have to do is you have to put these lists in. But now we know how to do that on the calculator and find all that stuff. Just refer back to the symbols over on the previous page. But what I do want to look at is this particular page right here, because I want to review something with you. And that is this, when you do a dot plot, and we didn't do it in the previous problem, I just wanted to show you how to do it on the calculator. But when you do a dot plot, this talks about how it's skewed. Make sure you understand this terminology here, okay? And it seems kind of obvious. This one's skewed to the left because everything is bunched up on the right-hand side. This one's skewed to the right because everything's bunched up on the left. Symmetric would be the big group is right in the middle, okay? Right in the middle, so it looks kind of like a parabola one way going down, so you could split it right down the middle. So here are some examples they want you to look at and determine, you know, how they're skewed or if they're skewed. So we would say, you know, if there were another value, say way over here, or a couple of values here, that this one would be skewed right because everything's bunched to the left. So just recognition there. Again, all the calculations can be done on the calculator.